Look at your life right now. Look at the thing you want the most, the thing you have been chasing for years, the money, the lover, the recognition. You have worked for it. You have sacrificed for it. You have lost sleep over it. You have tried harder than anyone else you know, and yet it remains just out of reach. Now look at the people who actually have what you want. Do they look like they are struggling? Do they look exhausted? Or do they seem to glide through life? Why does the lazy genius get the A+, while the stressed student gets the B-? Why does the person who doesn't care about love attract partners effortlessly, while the person desperate for love stays single? Why does money flow to those who treat it lightly and run away from those who grip it tightly? This is not unfairness. This is physics. You are a victim of a glitch in your programming. The Matrix taught you a lie. It taught you no pain, no gain. It taught you that the harder you push, the more you get. In the physical world of moving rocks, that is true. But in the quantum world of energy and manifestation, the opposite is true. The harder you try, the greater the resistance you create. The more you want, the more you affirm, I don't have. This is the law of reverse effort. The British philosopher Aldous Huxley described it best. The harder we try with the conscious will to do something, the less we shall succeed. It is like quicksand. The more you struggle to get out, the faster you sink. The only way to survive quicksand is to stop moving, to lie back, to float. But your ego hates this. Your ego screams, if I stop trying, I will die. So you keep thrashing, you keep sinking. In this transmission, we are going to save you from the quicksand. We are going to decode the ancient Taoist secret of Wu Wei, action without action. We are going to look at the neuroscience of the flow state and prove to you that your hard work is actually a signal of lack that is blocking the very thing you desire. Put down the tools, stop the struggle. We are about to learn to do nothing and achieve everything. I need to check your fatigue levels. Be honest, are you tired of grinding? Are you exhausted from chasing things that keep running away? If you are ready to stop fighting the current, declare it now. Comment below, I surrender the struggle. Let the resistance drop.
Let's look at the energetic signature of trying. When you say, I am trying to be rich, what are you actually broadcasting to the universe? You are broadcasting, I am not rich. Trying implies separation. You only try to get things you do not have. You do not try to be you, you just are. The universe acts as a giant photocopier. It does not listen to your words, it duplicates your vibration. If your vibration is struggle, the universe gives you more things to struggle with. If your vibration is wanting, the universe gives you more wanting. Think of a Chinese finger trap. You know this toy. It is a woven tube. You put your fingers in both ends. If you panic and try to pull your fingers out, if you use force, the tube tightens. It traps you. The harder you pull, the tighter it grips. This is exactly what happens with your goals. When you chase money with desperation, the energetic tube tightens. The money gets stuck. How do you escape the finger trap? You must do the counterintuitive thing. You must push in. You must relax. When you relax, the tube expands and your fingers slip out effortlessly. This is the law of reverse effort. When you stop trying to be happy, you become happy. When you stop trying to impress people, people are impressed by your authenticity. When you stop trying to force the sale, the client feels safe and buys. You are acting like a desperate dater. We all know that person. They want a relationship so badly that they reek of desperation. They text too much. They try too hard. What happens? They repel everyone. Desperation is a low-frequency odor. The universe smells it, and it runs away. Detachment is magnetic. When you don't need it, you are free to have it. Let's move from metaphysics to biology. What happens in your brain when you try too hard? You activate the prefrontal cortex. This is the CEO of the brain. It handles logic, planning, and willpower. When you are grinding, your brain is in high beta waves. This is the frequency of stress, survival, and narrow focus. Now, imagine you are a pianist. You have played a song 1,000 times. It is in your muscle memory, the subconscious or cerebellum. But suddenly, you get nervous. You start trying to play perfectly. You engage the prefrontal cortex. You start thinking about every finger movement. What happens? You choke. You mess up. Why? Because the CEO, prefrontal cortex, entered the factory floor and started micromanaging the workers, the subconscious. The CEO doesn't know how to assemble the parts. The workers do. But the CEO is shouting, interrupting, and causing chaos. This is called transient hypofrontality. To enter the zone of genius, the flow state, the prefrontal cortex must actually shut down. The inner critic must be silenced. When you are trying, you are keeping the inner critic awake and screaming. You are overanalyzing. You are doubting. You are creating friction in your own neural pathways. This is why your best ideas come in the shower. Why the shower? Because you stopped working. You stopped trying to solve the problem. You relaxed. Your brain waves dropped from beta to alpha. The CEO went on a coffee break. And in that silence, the subconscious, the genius, finally had a chance to speak. It uploaded the solution instantly. Hard work often just means mental noise. You think you are being productive because your brain is loud, but you are just creating static interference. The signal cannot get through the noise of your own effort. Above all, hard work is dis-ease. It is attention. Have you ever noticed that the moment you gave up on a problem, the answer suddenly appeared? Have you noticed that when you stopped chasing a person, they texted you? That was not a coincidence. That was the law of reverse effort in action. Confirm this data point. Comment below, I trust the flow. Chapter 3. The Archer, the Taoist Secret. There is an ancient Taoist story about an archer. When the archer shoots for fun in his backyard, he has all his skill. He hits the bullseye every time. When he shoots for a brass buckle, a small prize, he gets nervous. His aim is slightly off. When he shoots for a prize of gold, a huge reward, he goes blind. He sees 2 targets. He goes crazy. His skill has not changed. He is the same man with the same bow, but the need has changed. He cares too much about the outcome. His desire for the gold creates tension in his muscles. His trying destroys his doing. The master said, when you attach to the prize, the internal power is drained.
This is where most of you are living. You are shooting for gold, financial freedom, true love, and because the prize is so big, you are trembling, you are stiff, you are missing the target that you could easily hit if you were relaxed. This brings us to the concept of Wu Wei. It is often translated as doing nothing. This is a mistranslation. It means effortless action. It means acting without forcing. Think of water. Water is the softest substance, yet it cuts through rock. Does water try to flow to the ocean? Does it sit there planning its route? Does it get stressed when it hits a rock? No, it simply yields. It flows around the rock. It finds the path of least resistance, and inevitably it reaches the ocean. You are trying to be a rock. You are trying to smash through walls with your forehead. You are exhausted because you are fighting the topography of reality. Be water. If a door closes, do not bang on it. That is resistance. Flow around it. There is a window open somewhere else. Wu Wei is the art of sailing. The sailor does not push the boat. The wind pushes the boat. The sailor simply adjusts the sails to catch the momentum that is already there. Are you pushing your boat, or are you sailing? The philosopher Alan Watts called this the backwards law. He said, to get it, you must let it go. It sounds like a riddle, but it is a psychological mechanism. When you let go of the need for a specific outcome, you remove the fear of failure. When the fear of failure is gone, your performance skyrockets. Think about sleep. Can you try to fall asleep? I must sleep. I must sleep now. The harder you try, the more awake you become. Insomnia is the result of trying to sleep. Sleep is an act of surrender. You have to let go of control to enter the unconscious. Think about swallowing. If you think about how to swallow, if you try to swallow, you will choke. It must happen automatically. Manifestation is the same. You state your intention. I want this. That is the setup. But then you must let go. You must detach from how and when it arrives. If you keep checking your bank account every hour, you are trying to sleep with your eyes open. You are digging up the seed to see if it has grown. You are killing the process with your interference. The backwards law says, if you want to feel secure, stop chasing security, embrace uncertainty. If you want to be loved, stop demanding love, give love. If you want to be powerful, stop grabbing for power, empower others. The things you chase run away. The things you allow come to you. This is difficult because the Matrix programmed you to be a hunter. Go get it, hunt it down. But in the fifth dimension, you are not a hunter, you are a gardener. You plant the seed, you water it, and then you wait. You trust nature. You don't scream at the flower to grow faster.
Chapter 5. The Cosmic Waiter, the Art of Detachment. We have established that trying creates resistance, but this leaves a terrifying question for the logical mind. If I stop trying, won't I become a failure? Won't I just sit on the couch and do nothing? This is the biggest misconception about Wu Wei. There is a massive difference between resignation and detachment. Resignation is heavy. It says, I give up.
It's never going to happen. I'm a victim. This is a low frequency. Detachment is light. It says, I have placed the order. I know it is coming. I don't need to worry about it. This is a high frequency. Let me give you the perfect metaphor, the cosmic restaurant. Imagine the universe is a high-end restaurant. You are the customer. You look at the menu, the quantum field of possibilities. You decide what you want. Let's say you want the steak of financial freedom. You call the waiter, the universe. You place your order clearly. I would like the financial freedom, medium rare, please. Now, what do? Do you grab the waiter's arm and scream, "Are you sure you heard me? Are you sure the chef is cooking it? I need it right now. I'm starving." No, that would be insane. You would get kicked out. Do you run into the kitchen and try to cook it yourself because you don't trust the chef? No, you would ruin the meal. What do? You sit back, you drink your wine, you talk to your friends, you enjoy the music. You know the food is coming. You don't wonder if it's coming, you assume it is a done deal. Because you are not trying to get the food, you are relaxed, you are charming, you are in a high vibration. And because you are relaxed, the waiter can do his job efficiently. The food arrives perfectly on time. But most of you are acting like lunatics in the cosmic restaurant. You place the order for true love, and then 5 minutes later you are shaking with anxiety. Where is it? Why isn't he here yet? Maybe I ordered wrong. Maybe the kitchen ran out. You stand up, you pace around the table, you start crying. You are generating a chaotic energy field. The waiter cannot get through your wall of anxiety. You are literally blocking the kitchen door with your fear. Trying is simply a lack of trust in the chef. If you truly believed the law of attraction worked, you wouldn't try, you would order and then receive. The gap between the order and the delivery is called the gestation period. Your job during the gap is not to work hard. Your job is to hold the table. Sit there with dignity, expectation, calmness. Every time you feel the urge to force something, visualize the restaurant. Ask yourself, am I shouting at the waiter right now? Sit down, drink the wine, trust the kitchen. Let's practice this shift right now. Think of the one thing you are desperate for. Now imagine you have just ordered it from the cosmic menu. The waiter has nodded and walked away. It is being prepared. Can you relax? Can you enjoy the present moment while you wait? Comment below. Order placed. Signal to the universe that you are done screaming. Chapter 6. Hacking the Flow, the Soft Eyes Technique. Now, let's get physical. How do you turn off the trying mechanism in your brain? How do you shut down the overactive prefrontal cortex and enter the flow state instantly? You cannot think your way into flow. You must hack your way in using your biology. I'm going to teach you a technique used by ancient samurai and modern snipers. It is called soft eyes or peripheral vision. When you are stressed, trying hard and hunting for a result, your vision creates a tunnel effect. You focus intensely on one point, foveal vision. Biologically, this signals the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. It produces adrenaline and cortisol. It locks you in beta brainwaves. This is the frequency of struggle. However, the moment you expand your vision to see the corners of the room, something magical happens. Try it now. Look at the screen, but without moving your eyeballs, try to see the walls on your left and right. Try to see the ceiling and the floor. Expand your awareness to 180 degrees. Soften your gaze. Do not stare hard. Just receive the light. Do this for 10 seconds. Do you feel that? Do you feel your breathing slow down? Do you feel the chatter in your mind go quiet? Biologically, peripheral vision activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It tells your brain, there is no tiger, there is no danger, we are safe. It instantly drops your brain waves from high beta to alpha. Alpha is the bridge to the subconscious. Alpha is the frequency of the flow state. Alpha is where magic happens. When you are working on a project or writing a script or talking to a client and you feel the tension of trying creeping in, stop. Engage soft eyes. Dilate your vision. You will feel the clutch of the ego release. The channel opens. The words will start to flow. The ideas will come. This is how you apply the law of reverse effort physically. You do not push your eyes out. You let the world come in. You switch from a laser beam, force, to a light bulb, radiance. A laser burns. A light bulb illuminates. Be the light bulb. Chapter 7. The Money Paradox. Why Lazy People Get Rich. Now we must address the most triggering topic: money. Why does it seem like people who don't care about money often attract the most of it? And why do spiritual people who try so hard to manifest abundance stay broke? Because money is a cat. If you chase a cat, what does it do? It runs. It hides under the sofa. If you lunge at it, it scratches you. But if you sit on the couch, ignore the cat, and play with a piece of string, focus on your own joy, what happens? The cat gets curious. It creeps out. It jumps into your lap. Money is currency, like a current of water. You cannot grab water. If you close your fist tight to grab water, it all squeezes out through your fingers. To hold water, you must cup your hands gently. You must be open. When you are trying to make money, you are grabbing. Your energy is sharp, needy, and aggressive. Clients can feel this. It feels like a salesman breathing down their neck. They recoil. They say, "Let me think about it," and disappear. But when you operate from reverse effort, you focus on value, not money. You focus on the play. You enjoy your craft. You create something beautiful because you love it, not because you need it to pay rent. This generates a frequency of high value. People are attracted to people who are having fun. People are attracted to mastery. And suddenly, the money flows in as a side effect of your joy. Look at the billionaires. Look at the artists who made it. At a certain point, they stopped working for money and started working for the game. They play. Work feels heavy. Light feels light. Heavy things sink. Light things float. If you want your bank account to rise, you must lighten your energy. Stop asking, "How can I get money?" Taking and effort. Start asking, "How can I give value?" Flowing and reverse effort. The output is controlled by the input. If the pipe is blocked by your anxiety of getting, nothing can flow through. Clear the pipe. Stop caring about the money and care about the service. The cat will jump in your lap. Chapter 8. The State of Done. Neville Goddard's Secret. The ultimate application of the law of reverse effort is a concept from the mystic Neville Goddard. It is called living in the end. Trying means you're thinking of the goal. You're looking at it from a distance. Having means you're thinking from the goal. You're inside it. If you're already in Paris, do you try to go to Paris? No, you're there. You smell the croissants. You see the Eiffel Tower. You walk the streets. There is no effort to get there because the journey is over. To manifest instantly, you must move your consciousness to the finish line. Do not visualize yourself getting the promotion. Visualize yourself having been promoted for 3 months. Feel the handshake. Feel the new desk. Feel the normalcy of it. When it feels normal, the resistance is gone. The law of reverse effort works because when you accept the wish is fulfilled, you stop fighting for it. You enter a state of Sabbath or rest. You are not lazy, you are resting because the work is done. The seed is planted, the pavement is laid. Why would you keep digging? Ask yourself right now, if I knew with 100% certainty that my desire would be here tomorrow morning, how would I feel right now? Would you be stressed? No. Would you be trying to manifest it? No. You would be relieved. You would be excited. You'd probably go take a nap or go for a walk. Feel that relief. That relief is the key. That relief is the signal to the universe that the transaction is complete. The moment you give up the struggle is the moment the delivery truck arrives. It has been waiting around the corner for you to stop blocking the driveway. Chapter 9. The 51% Rule. Balancing action and surrender. I want to be very clear. The law of reverse effort does not mean you never take action. We are in a physical reality. You still need to move your feet. But the ratio has changed. In the Matrix, you were taught 90% action, 10% alignment. In the 5D reality, the formula is 90% alignment, 10% action. You do the internal work first. You get into the flow state. You visualize the done state. Then, and only then, do you take inspired action. Inspired action does not feel like trying. It feels like you are being pulled. It feels like you cannot help but do it. It feels like falling downhill. If you have to drag yourself to do the work, stop. You are out of alignment. Go back to the silence. Go back to the soft eyes. Go back to the cosmic restaurant. Recalibrate. Then, when the energy hits you, ride the wave. 1 hour of inspired action is worth 100 hours of forced labor. This is efficiency. This is physics. Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and I can move the world." Your alignment is the lever. Your effort is just the finger pushing it. Stop trying to lift the world with your bare hands. Use the lever. The ultimate surrender. You have spent your whole life fighting. Fighting for grades, fighting for love, fighting for money, fighting for status. You are tired. I know you are tired. The war is over. The universe is not asking you to conquer it. The universe is asking you to dance with it. In a dance, you do not try to beat your partner. You do not struggle against the music. You listen. You feel the rhythm. You flow. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, but there is never resistance. Look at nature. The grass does not strain to grow. The sun does not stress to shine. The birds do not take courses on how to fly. They just are. You are part of nature. You are not a machine. You have the same divine intelligence inside you. Trust it. Stop trying to become the person you want to be. Relax into the person you already are. The diamond does not try to sparkle. It sparkles because that is its nature. Remove the mud of effort and the shine is automatic. However, there is one thing that keeps pulling you back into the struggle. One thing that keeps replaying the old failures and telling you it's impossible. That thing is time, or rather, your perception of the past. You think your past is set in stone. You think your trauma is permanent. You think, I can't succeed because I failed yesterday. What if I told you that the past is not solid? What if I told you you can edit your memories just like you edit a Word document? What if you could use a quantum Control-Z to undo the errors of your history and change your timeline instantly? In the next transmission, we are going to break the laws of linear time. We are going to learn the revision method. We are going to learn how to change the past to alter the future. The struggle ends today. The flow begins now. Drop the oars. Let the current take you. The struggle ends where the trust begins. Drop the oars. Stop fighting the current. Become the water, and you will become unstoppable. Type, I am the flow. Effortless.